notice of this meeting has been provided to the Co-Star, the official newspaper of the Borough of Belmar, and the Asbury Park Press on December 22nd, 2021, and notice of this meeting was posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building. Councilman Brennan is absent. Councilman Kinney? Here. Mayor Walsifer?
Here.
Councilman McCracken?
Here.
Councilman Carvelli?
Here. Everybody can join me in saluting the flag for a great nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everybody remain standing for a moment for our troops, our families, all our first responders. And I want to mention Anthony Wall, who passed away since our last meeting. He was a chef, and he owned a lot of restaurants in town for many years. Thank you. For workshop tonight, we have a few things to discuss. One of the things is that I have our engineers here, our water sewer engineer and our engineer. For the past 2 years, our finance committee has been working on, they had the task of working on all of our infrastructure and trying to come up with a plan to start to improve all the infrastructure, the water sewer, the storm drains, everything that we have in town. So they've been having meetings with a lot of professionals, our DPW staff, really getting an understanding. We had different water companies, and there was different towns that we talked to that are in similar situations to find out what they were doing. And about 10 months ago, we were notified from the state of New Jersey that any lead or galvanized pipes that are leading to any of the households in town have to be replaced within 10 years. And so I have our engineers here. We're going to go through a lot of that infrastructure process that we've been going through, and they're going to inform us how many they found and what we're going to have to do about it for the next 10 years. It's going to be costly, and we're going to have to be looking for grants and just to figure out how we're going to be able to handle this over the next 10 years. So we have Kyle Smith here, and we have Jerry Frieda. They have a little bit of slide presentation for us, and the council can ask them any questions as we go along this. So if anybody wants to sit down and watch the slideshow, we'll do that. All right, guys. Jerry Frieda, Kyle Smith, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us, Mayor and Council. So as the mayor said, I'm Kyle Smith. I'm from Mont McDonald. We're an engineering consulting firm, and we're a water consulting engineer in the borough. We've been the water consultant here since 2021. And I'm just here to discuss the projects that the borough have implemented on the water system here in the past few years, and also the planning, as the mayor mentioned, that's been going on with the finance committee. So if we could move the slide on. So the first item we'll start out with is talking about the borough's 2 water storage tanks. The first tank is the ground storage tank located at the borough's water treatment plant on 12th Ave. This tank had previously received notice of violations from the NJDEP, and the borough moved forward with a rehabilitation project in 2021. The scope of that project that included resurfacing and repainting of the interior and exterior of the tank, some foundation improvements to the concrete, and also safety improvements for borough operations personnel. That's with the ladder and some railings. So that work was done in 2021. The borough's second storage tank is the elevated storage tank. That's located there at the Belmar Public Works Building. You can see it in the background. So the front, the lower tank in the foreground here is the ground storage tank, and then the elevated storage tank is there in the background. This year in 2022, the borough moved forward with conducting an inspection of the tank, of the condition that's both on the interior and exterior of the tank. We have not received the final report from the contractor that completed that work, but there are some maintenance items that will be required of the borough. That tank is in generally good condition, but there will be some maintenance work required here in the near future. Next slide. So water service lines, the mayor alluded to this. This is obviously a very important topic here in New Jersey and actually throughout the United States. In 2021, New Jersey implemented lead service replacement program law was actually enacted. And this is requiring water systems to replace all of their water services within 10 years of the law, all lead services. Lead services is not just lead material, but it's also galvanized material because there are coatings that contain lead within the galvanized services. So these services were commonly installed prior to 1986. Post 1986, there was lead-free requirement from the EPA, so you could not put lead fittings or materials in your water system. Prior to 86, there was also copper and plastic used, but also there were some lead fittings and galvanized lines installed. So per the DEP requirements, the borough staff, Public Works, put together the lead service line inventory. So what that is, that's the Public Works looking at each service that goes to residents and commercial buildings throughout the borough and identifying the materials. So as you can see through the numbers, over 2,000 services were confirmed to not be a lead service line, so that's good. That's over about 2/3 of your system confirmed not to be lead or galvanized. 569 services have been identified as a lead service line, either lead or galvanized line, and 547 services currently have an unknown status. And this is typical in a lot of municipalities. We're working through to confirm each and every service to make sure we know exactly what it is. So DPW has been instrumental in reviewing the records and finding out what those services are. So the borough, as part of the DEP requirements, had to prepare a plan to identify and then talk about the replacement plan. And with that, the important part about it is the ongoing remaining 547, just to confirm what those materials are. And at this time, the borough is looking at funding opportunities, both for grants and low interest loans to replace the services which are within the right of way. And that's what the borough is looking to do. At the same time, there's the meter replacement program. This is something that the borough is starting to implement here in the near future. They've procured the meters, and borough DPW staff are going to be doing the replacements. This is basically to replace all of the meters that are antiquated and that can no longer be read with the borough's current system. So that's something that you'll get some more information on in the near future. And this is really what I've worked, my group have worked with the Finance Committee on over the course of the past year. It's the water system evaluation. So what that is, that's evaluating all of the assets in the borough's water system, starting from the raw water wells to the water treatment plant, to the distribution mains and the interconnections, as well as the tank. So it's taking a look at the borough's entire system and identifying the assets, the condition, and where the borough needs to make sure that they invest in the near future. So we split it up between a 10-year and a 20-year program. The 10-year program really focuses on the undersized water mains within the distribution system. So that's typically the 6-inch mains, and that's trying to get those 6-inch mains up to 8-inch ductile line pipe. So we put some examples up there of some roadways which currently have 6-inch mains: Oakwood, Maplewood, Briarwood, Pine Tree Road, and L Street. And that's the borough's going to focus on getting those undersized mains increased to 8-inch diameter. And again, I noted that the elevated storage tank had an inspection. There's some maintenance upgrades that will be required in rehabilitation, and that's something that's planned for within the 10-year program. And then the 20-year program, it kind of hits the rest of the assets within the borough system that really needs to be rehabilitated or upgraded over the course of time. That's the borough's interconnections, emergency interconnections we have with the local municipalities, testing, and if something comes to the test that shows that something's not up to code, then rehabilitation as necessary. Well 10 is the borough's oldest well, and that's something that may need to be replaced in the next 20 years. Wells 12, 13, and 14, that's more of a rehabilitation and maintenance program that will need to be required. SCADA system upgrades, that's at the well sites to make sure that the borough's operators getting all real-time data of how the remote wells are operating at any given moment. And upgrades to the plant, this is typical infrastructure improvements that's needed. There's some chemical feed upgrades, security system upgrades, and modifications to the raw water piping. So as you can see, I think this water system evaluation really shows that the borough's looking at what needs to be done and planning what needs to be done in the future. So that's my thing.
Sure. So my name is Jerry Frieda. I am the borough engineer, and I was asked to just give an update on the rest and balance of our infrastructure. Along with the water, sanitary sewer system is 100 years old. It was built from clay pipe and brick manholes. So right away, you have to recognize that a 100-year-old system like that is going to have a lot of gaps and breaks and openings. All those things allow water to infiltrate into the system, and that's extra gallonage that you on your sewer bill have to pay to SMRSA, which is our local sewer authority, for treatment. So we are at a point where we really have to start planning to address the sewage. We know that 8th Avenue, there's 2 mains that run down 8th Avenue to the pump station on Ocean. We know they have to be done first because it is the worst that we have in town. And there are also areas along Ocean Avenue that also have to be addressed quickly. We would have to probably put together a plan, which we have not done yet. We've let the water take the lead, but we're going to follow with the sewer. And that's going to probably include, I don't know, projects phased, maybe 6, 7, 8 different phases to complete the entire system. And you're looking at anywhere from $3 to $5 to $6 million a phase. So in today's dollars, we're looking over $20 million today to replace the sanitary sewer collection system, and probably another 4 to 5 million into your pump stations that need to be upgraded. The roads, which, everything is underneath the roads. We get good grant money to do roads every year. The borough does roads, but we don't do enough. We really just do, up till maybe a couple of years ago, we were only doing what money we had in the grant. We weren't going any further. If we do that, you can see on the map up there, we worked with DPW early on to identify the condition of the roads and the pavement. So what you see up there in the green and the blue, that was ranked good to fair. And in the purple or red and gold, that's poor to bad. So once we establish the conditions of the surface of the roads, then we overlay the water and the sewer. Because if we're going to replace water and sewer, we don't want to pave those roads if we're going to have to rip them up all over again. So we're trying to plan our projects accordingly. We want to try and get the worst roads, but we don't want to do a road that we know we have to do the water and sewer if we don't have the money for it. And grants that we get typically are for the pavement, the concrete, the sidewalk, the striping. They don't necessarily pay for the infrastructure. So this administration currently has, in the last 2 projects, they have put additional funds into the projects to replace the water mains. That was done on 15th Avenue, and it's also going to be done on River Avenue and the Terrace, which is coming up next. The other interesting thing about the roads, looking at the map, if we go back to the other map real quick first. It's almost a 50-50 split between the blue and the green, which is good to fair, and the poor and the bad, which is the purple and the gold. That's not a good sign for the borough, because you need to have more of a 75-80% in that green and blue, and 20-25% in the poor and bad, because you just can't keep up with the roads. We're falling behind. So what that map tells us is we're falling behind with our roads. And there's no way to catch up with grants. We have to put more bonding money or something into it, or find bigger grants and better grants, but the grants are harder and harder to find. And they're actually more and more competitive. So we may find a situation where there's, plenty of, a couple of grant opportunities, and it looks like a positive issue, but we maybe come up short, or we don't get the money that we need, or we don't get as much as we'd like. So we're falling behind on our roads. Our sanitary sewer is almost staring at 100% of its being replaced. And to go along with the water, you're probably looking 25 to 30 million on your water side for replacement. And it's a lot of work to undertake, and a lot of money that we have to raise and appropriate to get that work done.
That's it.
That's
You
it.
want to tell them how much grant money we got in and what we
Sure.
spent so far?
So in the last 3.5 years, we have gotten $1.5 million in grants. And we have, the borough has added $1.2 million to those projects. So it's a pretty good match. But we're so far behind, it's not helping us enough. And that's the dilemma that we're in. Again, the Finance Committee has been very active looking at different opportunities and solutions. Kyle and I meet with them once a month when they have meetings. And we'll continue to do so.
All right. Any of the council have questions for our engineers?
Do the sewers go up and down the road? I mean, I know we have sewers on our roads, but is there more, like you said, 8th Avenue is the main one? That can't be the only one in the town.
No, the sewers basically run east to west
Okay.
down your roads, but they also have junctions and spurs that go off into the lettered streets.
Yes.
Maybe not the whole street, may only go half of that. It may not be there at all, in which case, those homes have sewer laterals that run through neighboring properties, which is a problem. They sometimes run through somebody's basement and tie into the basement of somebody else's home. There's a lot of issues that have to be corrected, because over time, people have just subdivided properties. If you go back to the 50s and 60s, they just subdivided properties without following through with this type of thing. So the sewers are predominantly on your east-west streets, but also Main Street.
Because I live on
Ocean
C
Avenue.
Street and ours overflows all the time.
Yeah,
so.
I'm sure, I'm sure of it. And one other thing I will mention, as far as the sewers go, it's not difficult work, but it's messy and burdensome, because it really affects the people that live on that street. For whatever number of weeks you're gonna be there, you're gonna be inconvenienced by that work, but it's so necessary. And we really need to get a program together pretty quick.
I know you're waiting on the final report, but the work that you anticipate, the elevated water tank, do you anticipate that will include painting?
We haven't gotten the report yet. There probably will be something required there, but we'll see. We'll see what comes from the inspection specialist that will have the report.
On the borough side, that's one of the requests that we're gonna have the totality cost factor for that thing. Because if you look at the water tank now, underneath is disgusting.
Yeah, black.
So,
Jerry, if you can just go over a little bit of, we've also been talking about storm drains, and on the south end of town, that's a little bit of a problem. So while you're here, if you can just go over that a little bit for the council.
Okay, sure. The storm drainage really kind of runs with the paving, so we have a much better handle on that within the borough. But there are a number of locations, especially in the south end, on North Boulevard, that area, where we have old inlets that don't meet the current DEP standards. Every year, we have an annual program through DPW. We have to manage that. Every year, they're telling us, we gotta fix this, this, and this. So you're gonna probably see a project coming up in the short term to replace a lot of the lines and storm drainage in that area. Even though the roads are not quite as bad in some of those areas, we do have to take care of the storm sewers. Every grant that we get for a road, we are required to upgrade the storm sewer. And that's kind of why we're not as in bad shape in storm sewer as we could be. But that is gonna probably be an area that we're gonna have to concentrate on with a nice, big, good-sized project.
So going forward on some of these budgets, we'll be putting more money in the capital, trying to cover a little bit more of what we need to do.
We're gonna have to make a commitment, yeah, and, I mean, you've already made a pretty positive commitment, but, you know, as I said, you're almost matched the grants that you have, which is good. But for too long, we weren't doing that, and we were just relying on the grant, that's why we kept falling back and back and back.
Jerry, for the roads that are, I guess, purple and cold, I know you said that's half of those in the town. You know, a lot of these streets have bad cracks, potholes, ruts, different things, which, you know, I realize based on the report, all these streets obviously are not going to be painted or totally resurfaced this year or even next or the year after. But are you evaluating like which are the worst of the worst, and then maybe have just some kind of a maintenance program, like a patching program like you did on River Road for a temporary fix? So some of them are gotten a little dangerous.
Yeah, no, that we do. We rely on DPW to help us through that, or actually we help them through that. What happened recently on River Avenue or Inlet Terrace, it was so bad over there. We know we had to replace the water main, so we went for a grant through DOT to pave the road, and we committed money to do the water main. But waiting for the grant, the road just kept getting unraveling to a point where it was almost unsafe. So we got a contractor in to do what they call a skin coat. And if anyone's ridden the road in the last maybe month or so, you'll see a huge change in the road. We had to invest a couple dollars there to buy time. But we just took bids today for the water main portion of that work. Hopefully that gets done before the end of the year, and then we can start the road work early spring and be done by Memorial Day. So that's a synopsis of what you're talking about, and we need to do that in a lot of other locations.
And that's just for inlet terrace you're talking?
That's for River Ave,
Yes.
Inlet Terrace.
And also, just to be on top of the game here, just not the water main that we had to replace. The grant only covered up to, I believe, C Street.
Right.
Based on fiscal responsibility by our finance team, who's done an amazing job getting money into the capital expense project, we were able to come up with money to go from B Street to C Street, which is one of the worst locations on Inlet Terrace. Those potholes and how bad that repaving project is. So replacement water main was one of the problems, and we also needed to get additional capital expenses in to go from B Street to C Street to complete that project.
And it happens often. We'll apply for a grant to go from this end of the table to that end of the table, and then whoever gives you the grant maybe gives you 80% or 75% of what you asked for. So what are your choices? Well, you either scale the project back, which maybe was being done in the past, or you put more money into it so you can complete the project. And that's what we've been doing recently.
So this whole thing, and the water tanks and everything, is a 20-year, or this is a 10-year project?
That plan is meant to just depict the conditions that are there.
Okay, so that's not really.
Right, now what we do with the roads, we have a list of roads that DPW has. We try to follow the list, but we have to deviate based on the infrastructure, the condition of the water, the sewer. There's a lot of emergencies that come up with broken water main, which causes maybe a road that was further down to pop up more to the front. There's a lot of conditions. The utility companies come in, you know, they tear up our roads when new houses are built and that type of thing. You find patches in the road, and maybe it's not so bad if there's one or two, but when you start to see 3, 4, 5, and 6 in a row, and then they start to unravel, and now you have a bigger problem. It also makes it more difficult for DPW to plow the streets because of the unevenness of the streets. So it's quite a problem for us to manage. But we continue to do so the best that we can. That's a guide for us, is what it is.
And sometimes the guide for an aggressive program that we're doing right now to get the grants, sometimes somebody might think their street is worse than another street, but you have to worry about what's under that street. And we can't not get the grant. We have to get the grant, so we have to be smart about what we're doing from now until the future. You don't want to throw bad money after good or whatever.
And if I could, there's one more slide, either before that or after that. It's a map. Yeah, that one. That one depicts the roads and the projects that we have done through mostly grants and the match. That's that 1.5 and 1.2 million that you saw. That's what we got out of that money. So you can see it doesn't go far. You know, you have $3 million, and we've only done a couple of streets. So it's a pretty big undertaking that we're faced with.
I have one question. So, we've got some roads that are in disrepair. We've got winter coming up, and I know that makes our roads even worse. Between now and when we anticipate when the asphalt plants to close down or snowfall, things like that, do we have a plan to at least do what we can on a temporary basis?
We do. We do. And with Bill Musto here, we talked about it. We met this week again, right after Labor Day. That's when our potholes and our painting and striping gets done until we get into the cold weather, because they will have the asphalt trailer filled with it, and we're going to hit all our worst roads. I think Mr. Musto has an entire list for the entire town from worst potholes to, for safety concerns, and that's what the plan is in September.
Okay. Any other questions from the council? All right, guys. Thank you so much for your presentation.
You're very welcome. And thank you all.
Okay. The other thing we have on the workshop is our business administrator is just going to give us a little update on that skateboard presentation we saw last meeting. Business administrator, do you have an update for council?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Been working on the last meeting. We put a concept plan from the platform group. I'm working with Bob Cito from the skate park. I had him in today. We're hooking him up with the platform group to this concept that we got from the platform group didn't really take into account beginner skaters and people just starting out to skate. So in the past 2 weeks, we've been meeting with Bob. He put together another plan to include a larger footprint for that skate park. I had Mr. Musto was going out to measure to take some of to square that park away, because if you look at the design now, it's not square. We have 7,200 feet of park and 5,500 of skating. I know we're going to make it bigger to 10,000. I think it is, Billy, whatever the footprint's going to be, square feet. So we have plans to meet with the concept designer at the end of August, and hopefully we'll have a better idea of the specs of what we want to put in that skate park area. I'm also working with Green Acres on a grant. They've only had a 2021 grant. The 2022 grant has not been announced yet. And talking to the New Jersey DEP Green Acres people, they're saying that we probably won't get anything until the funding is available in October or November when the application is sent out. I'm working on an application now for the 2021 because there's a lot of things that need to be in place before we get the 2022 application. So we're making progress with the grants, and like I said, the concept design is going to be actually looked over by our professionals, And Bob from the skate shop is doing an amazing job, working together on trying to really get this park where it needs to be.
Thank you. Any of the council have questions for our business administrator on that? Any time, you good? I'm good.
And so far, business administrator, no other companies have come forward to offer any plans for us or any new presentations or anything like that?
I've not received any from this point on. We're hoping to get a few more in. Like I talked about at the last meeting, designers charge now $5,000 to $10,000 to do a concept. They've done this because after they've done a design, the work gets awarded to somebody else, and they've wasted a lot of time. So also New Jersey makes it tough for out-of-state contractors to come in based on some of the labor laws of the state. So as of right now, this platform group has really stepped up to the plate to assist us with this concept design. Somebody asked me about skate park people in New Jersey. There's no skate park designers realistically in New Jersey. They're from all over the country. I've dealt with quite a few of them, asking them for other concept plans. So right now, the platform group has stepped forward, and we will get others hopefully soon. But I have to go with what we have right now, working with our professionals to make this a faster process.
Good. Thank you.
Well, I just want to add to that, that we had this concept design come in, and one of the biggest things that we're worried about is, could it be built above ground in concrete? And they were the ones that really took their time and looked at it and said, now that we have a design that we know that it could be built above, and we can build our request for bid on that. So when we go out for a request for bid, these companies are gonna have to actually either come in with a bid for that design, because it has to be built above ground in concrete. So, and we wanna make if we're gonna do this, we want it to be sustainable, we want it to last for a long time, and if it's all done like the plan that we saw, it should last for a long, long time, and be nice and welcoming to people to come there, and the skaters to really have a good time. So, but now we could, because we have a company that says that it can be done, now we can build a request for bid based on that.
And Bob Lucido from the skate park, he adds a whole new dimension to the design of this based on drainage and things that have to be considered with above that asphalt concrete park. So he has a concept design that he's going to send the platform group. They're emailing back and forth to make it a little bit wider, a little bit safer, and then conducive to not just your pro skater, but beginners that can share that park along with everybody else.
Okay, the only other thing I have is because Lorraine's here and she knows I'm not gonna, she doesn't know I'm gonna ask this question. She was able to find us $377,000 that was owed to us through FEMA, and I just wanted to explain to the council how she was able to find that money and get that extra money to us. So I do appreciate all that hard work you did, Lorraine, getting that money for us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Essentially, what happened was we discovered that there were some Sandy-related FEMA projects that had not been closed out. By close out, we mean that the final inspections had been done, the final accounting of all the expenditures had been submitted, and FEMA had then decided ultimately what was an acceptable expense or what was declined. So when I started looking at what we had out there, we knew that there were two large projects that had not been closed out, but didn't realize that there were several others that still had fallen into some kind of oblivion and no one had followed up on them. So as I was putting together information and working with the people at FEMA, they came back to me and said, well, you need to close out this project as well. So when I went and started looking for the documentation to support the expenditures that were made, the expenditures that were actually incurred and paid by the borough far exceeded the amount that was originally obligated by FEMA. That is the amount that they originally said they would pay us. So by putting together all of the information that they required, it turned out that we had just under $400,000 of expenditures for that particular project. And they approved $377,000 and change. So that money, they have given us the final approval. So it's moving forward, and we should, although FEMA is not very timely in terms of issuing payments, we know that the payment is in the queue somewhere. So we should be getting some money back shortly.
Thank you, Lorraine. Nice work.
Great job, Lorraine.
Thank you.
Good work.
All right. Anybody else on the council have anything for workshop? All right. We'll move on to petitions. April, any petitions?
No, I've not received any.
Okay, approval of minutes.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the August 2nd meeting?
Motion.
Second.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Walker?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Okay, reports of council. Councilman Carvelli?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Let's see, so none of my boards actually met since our last meeting. Our Harbor Commission canceled. The Finance Committee is on Thursday, which I guess based on the presentation and we'll discuss it. And then the Planning Board is next Monday. We have 3 applications, so I will have reports on those for the next meeting. And other than that, I don't have anything, so that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President McCracken?
Thank you. The Commissioners of the Belmar Housing Authority met last week, approved the budget to be submitted to the government for approval. There are problems with the exterior of the building with water infiltration and safety with the bricks detaching from the stucco or whatever is behind there. So that's a major project, and engineers are looking at how to solve that issue and get a solution that will last for some time. So the good thing is the roof has been repaired, so the roof is no longer leaking down the side of the building, which is very nice. But now, because of the damage that's been done over the years, that issue has to be addressed as well. So that's a top priority for the administration there. The Shade Tree Commission did not meet this month. They were supposed to, they had talked about doing a tour last Friday of a nursery, but with people scheduling, didn't work out to get time for folks to take time off from their full-time jobs to do that nursery tour. So that'll be something that will be coming at a future time. But that's an active group, and they'll be meeting back in September at our regular schedule.
Thank you. Councilwoman McKinney?
Thank you, Mayor Walsifer. I also did not meet with any of my committees this past couple weeks. The next ADA meeting is next Thursday, August 25th. Next recreation meeting is going to be sometime in September. We have not determined a date yet. And just around the schools, everybody's pretty much just getting ready to go back to school, so no one really wants to talk about it to me. But the first day of school for all of our schools in town is September 7th. And that's all I have.
Thank you. I have a couple things. August 31st is our clock presentation going along with our 150th anniversary. I'm sure everybody drove down Main Street. The clock has been put in place. They're working to get everything else ready for the 31st, and it's going to be presented on Founders Day, which is our 150th anniversary that day. So we're going to be closing down the street. We're going to be inviting everybody to come and unveil the clock, even though it's still there, we'll call it unveiling, but,
Let it go.
Yeah.
Starts the time.
yeah, we're gonna hook up the electric to it and start the time, so. But, so that should be exciting for us. And then we have September 10th coming up, which will be another celebration for the 150th anniversary at the Taylor Pavilion, where all the groups are gonna get together and explore all the history that the town has, so. It should be an exciting couple of weeks coming up. The other thing that I want to mention is we have taken delivery of the new fire rescue truck, and it should be in operation sometime mid-September after everything is done on it. So that was nice to see that after all this time that we finally were able to take delivery of that. And I think that's all I have. So hopefully I'll see everybody on the 31st. All right, April. We'll go on to budget amendment. So I guess, we just public hearing on that?
Did you have anything?
I'm sorry.
For the budget amendment, did you want to say anything?
Just to give you a brief explanation, a brief explanation of the reason we have to amend the budget, because we actually adopted the budget at the last meeting. Once the budget was submitted to the state, they came back and said we had some issues with calculations, so they asked us to recalculate. We were over our appropriations cap, not the levy cap, but the appropriations cap, so we had to reduce our appropriations. So by doing so, what we did, in order to do that, we had to reduce on the revenue side and reduce on the appropriation side. So the total reduction in the budget is $411,750. The lion's share of that is the money that we had put into the budget to cover what we expected to be the increase in gas and diesel for the marina. Now that those prices seem to have stabilized somewhat, we're pulling back what was amended at the last meeting, and I apologize for this, but this was something that we did not anticipate was going to happen. So essentially what we've done is reduce the revenues from $20,202,344.46 to $19,790,594.46, and our appropriations have been reduced by the same amount. Essentially, that is in total what our status is. And once the amendment is adopted by council, and then the budget will be formally adopted again with the new figures.
Okay, we'll open up the public comment on the amendment to the budget.
If anyone would like to speak on this, please step forward, state your name and address. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2022-139, a resolution adopting amendments to the approved 2022 budget?
Motion?
Second.
Councilwoman McKinney?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
And then next is Resolution 2022-140, a resolution adopting the 2022 budget as amended. Do we have a motion for adoption?
Motion.
Second.
Councilwoman McKinney?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes. Okay, public session on any of the resolution items. Yes.
That's one update?
This is just the resolution items, just so you understand. This, at the end of the meeting, there'll be public comment on everything.
Apologize.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, April.
May I have a motion to close the public session?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to approve the resolutions as listed on the consent agenda?
Make a motion.
Second?
Councilwoman McKinney?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Next, we have second reading and public hearing on ordinance 2022-12. This is a bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements and acquisitions. This is open for public hearing. If anyone would like to comment on this ordinance. Okay, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2022-12?
Motion.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Next is second reading and public hearing on ordinance 2022-11. This is an ordinance amending chapter 11, which is the salary ordinance. This is open for public comment. If anyone would like to speak on this ordinance. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And can I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2022-11?
Motion.
Second.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Next is second reading and public hearing on ordinance 2022-15. This is an ordinance amending chapter 19 traffic, creating a loading zone. It's open for public comment. If anyone would like to speak on this ordinance. Just please step forward, state your name and address.
Sharon Mahoney, 800 Main Street. Is this on? Is it on? Sharon Mahoney, 800 Main Street. I just have a question on this. Is this loading zone, is this the only one you're adding? Is only public session comments on this particular location? Or is it on any others that would be of concern?
I believe it would just be the one we're adding. Right?
It's just the one.
It's subject to this particular one, but during the public session, you can talk about anything else.
Regarding loading zones?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, April.
Okay, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2022-15?
Motion.
Second.
Councilwoman McKinney?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Next, we have first reading and introduction of ordinance 2022-16. This is an ordinance amending chapter 26 for property maintenance. Can I have a motion to offer for first reading and schedule the public hearing for September 6th?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
And last one is first reading and introduction on ordinance 2022-17. This is an ordinance amending chapter 19 traffic regarding handicap parking spaces and other timed parking space areas. We have a motion to offer for first reading and schedule the public hearing for September 6th.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Thank you, April. Now we're on to public session, so anybody that has any questions for the council can come up.
Thank you. Good to see you.
How's it going? My name is Anthony Ferraro, and I just want to, first of all, thank you so much for all the efforts on the skate park. I was born blind and grew up in the area, and it's been a place where I've been able to walk to and get there independently and been able to just like battle out a trick, and it's just you and that trick, and none of the anxiety or depression in life and fears like exist. It's a really safe place, and it's really helped me a lot in my life, and I really appreciate everything you guys are doing, and makes me really happy to see that there's some progress moving forward. My only question would be, is there anything on like the community end, like my side, that I can do to help raise awareness or like help move it forward in any other way for like resources and things like that?
Well, it's a little bit of a process for a municipality. We have to follow the rules and regulations, and our biggest thing is how we're gonna fund it. You know, it is a big number, $500,000, but it's a skate park that I think that everybody can enjoy. We won't have to ever close it down because it's gonna be really a nice, well-built skate park. So we're working through all those problems, and the biggest thing is, you know, on our side, is we have to work through some of the funding and try not to put a big burden on the taxpayers. But so that's one of the things that we're going to be working on. Once we have a design phase in place, then we can go out for requests for bids and see what companies are going to come up somewhere close to what we're looking for. And then, but it's going to be a process. You know, I know all you guys want it done overnight, and
No, I understand it takes a long time.
And it took us a while to get a company to say that, you know, this is the spot that it could be built on. How could it be built above ground, still be safe, still be made of concrete so it'll last forever? And finally, we were able to get that design sent to us. So we're working toward it.
It's amazing, and it's moving forward a lot. Like, skateboarding just got in the Olympics, and I'm on the board to help move it to the Paralympics. So you're changing a lot of people's lives to, you know, doing what you're doing. And so it would help raising money on a community standpoint help.
All fundraising would help. I mean, we
Okay.
just have to.
Would it also help to, I have a lot of connections in the skateboard world to like talk to like other skate park industry, like skate park builders for the bid?
Oh yeah, once the bid's in place, I mean, they'll have the criteria now to build or show us what they can build based on the criteria that we put forward. So, I mean, now that we know that how it can be built, and that's what we're waiting for a company to say, this is the space we got, it can't be dug into the ground, how do we do it, and how do we make it safe, and how do we make it last? So,
Right.
we finally have a company that did that for us.
Concrete's the answer.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Okay, thanks. Yes, Mr. DeWart.
Well, that gentleman spoke, I'll talk about, Tom Dillner, the 1000 River Road. I'll go the other way. Of course, you wanted to do this all the time to the people here in the town. So you got your way, you're building this new thing. But even though you still could have kept the other one open and working all the time, but you refused to do it, you shut the thing down, and all these months, probably over a year now. Nobody's been using it, everything. Whatever, you did it, you meant to do it right from the start. All right, let me get into this other thing here. I see you hired your accomplice from the Board of Education days, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry, wait, hold on, what?
He hired his accomplice, Professor Hallman,
Okay.
at the
I'm sorry,
library.
Are you accusing the mayor of misconduct?
Say again?
Are you accusing the mayor of misconduct?
No, we're just
Okay.
talking about it when he was on the Board of Ed.
I just wanted to make that clear that you weren't.
Take it easy here. Yes, you hired your accomplice, that's right?
I had no part in hiring. Our business administrator and the library interviewed a lot of different people, and they chose him. I had no input into that.
It had nothing to do with him being an accomplice with you and the Board of Ed then, right? It had nothing to do with that.
Like the mayor said.
I stay out of that process.
Right.
I do not hire people.
Because he was your accomplice, right?
That
He
is
was
not
not
what
an
it is.
accomplice, he was the superintendent of the Belmar school system.
Yes, your accomplice.
No, he was not. He was not an accomplice. I
Was
was
he
on the
was
school
he an
board.
accomplice?
I was
When
on the school board when he was superintendent, that's all I can tell you.
Was he your accomplice when you put that electric sign up?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
At the school, you know what I'm talking about.
Well,
Of
the
course,
school
it's
board
about
voted to-
$40,000, right?
Well, the school board voted to put the sign up, yes.
So he was your accomplice, correct?
He was the superintendent of schools. He was
You can use whatever word you like, I'm using the word accomplice.
Okay.
Okay, Professor Holman was your accomplice. He says here in this co-star, he loves Belmar. Well, I guess he does. He got a soft touch for about 10 years, and now he's back. I guess he would love us. Here's something else. He's talking about improvements and this and that for the community. Now, the library doesn't have an electric sign. Could that be on your agenda? An electric sign for the library?
You would have to go over to the library board and ask the library board.
Well, you have nothing to do with you. Now,
If they
your
decide that
accomplice,
they want my electric
your
sign, that's up to
accomplice is the librarian now. And you have nothing to do with it. You're separated from that
That's
completely.
exactly what he's saying.
There is a separate board for the library.
Right.
Mhm.
The board hired Mr. Holman.
Your accomplice, Professor Holman, correct?
He wasn't an
Correct?
accomplice. He was on the board.
He was the superintendent of the school board, that's what I'll tell
He was
you.
the superintendent and your accomplice, correct?
No, not correct. Under no
It's not more
circumstances
than
I would say
correct.
that's correct. Because that is not at all.
Well, I'm just worried we're gonna get another electric sign.
I believe we already
Now,
have
when it was
one.
all, excuse me, Councilwoman, when it was all said and done, and it was taken down and everything, with everything that was done, it cost us, the town, 100 grand or so. Because the beginning number was about 40,000, right, to install it.
I don't remember. That was
Oh,
years
he takes the fifth. He doesn't remember. Well,
I
I
haven't
was
been on
thinking
school
with
board
all
for
the
a while.
maintenance and everything that failed, and they finally did take it out, it cost us 100 grand.
Respectfully, sir, the school board is, and where the taxes go for the school board is separate from where the taxes and this public
We're
entity right
just talking
here.
about the relationship between the mayor and his accomplice. That's what we're talking about.
We're not. I honestly do not know what we're talking about.
Well, then why are you interjecting?
Because I'm trying to get
You don't even
clarification.
know what we're talking about.
I-
The mayor knows. Tell him what you did to the town. Tell him. Go ahead, tell
I have no idea what
Would
you're
you-
talking
would you
about.
have- would you have
Mr.
the,
Holman was the
witnesses
school, he was the
what-
superintendent of schools, he retired, and now he is our library
Yeah.
director. That's what I'll
Yeah,
tell you.
yeah.
And I had nothing to do with it. There was the library board interviewed a lot of people.
Not
and
you,
they
not
hired him.
you. Would never happen. Listen, Mr. Mayor, I'll stop now. I got one other thing, a question. Answer this one, please. Do you believe in democracy? Do you believe
Yes,
it?
I do, yes.
All the time?
Of course he does. Yes, I do.
Do you have a record that says that you believe in democracy?
I believe in democracy. That's what I'll
And
tell
your
you.
record speaks for itself, right?
Yes.
Okay, remember that.
Will do.
Mark that down.
I did.
We'll get back to that someday. Your record on democracy.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes, Jane.
Jane Simmons, 1613 Route 71. So I just wanted to say this amazing news, great progress on moving forward with the design and getting input from someone who actually skates. So Bob, Bob's a longtime skater and obviously knows a lot about the industry, knows how to build skate ramps. And enlarging it was one of the items that I wanted to bring up. I think that's great to enlarge the footprint. You mentioned to 10,000 square feet. Love that. And squaring it off even better use of the space. Had a question regarding, I think it was last meeting when you mentioned about the Green Acres funding. that you wanted to piggyback the basketball courts and the building on that project. Were you referring to getting the Green Acres to help fund the repairing and replacing of those things?
My concern about the basketball courts is that they painted it a few years ago, and the flooring is lifting up again.
Yeah.
That's a separate issue.
I think she's, yeah, that's.
I just
that's
wanted
a
to,
part.
I just was
That's a
asking,
separate
like,
issue.
you were talking about, using
No, the grant
Green Acres
that we're
funding
talking
to
about
help.
is directly for skate park.
Right.
That has nothing to do with the basketball courts, has nothing to do with the building. That, the grant would be directly for the.
Covers all that.
Okay, all right, yeah, I figured because that whole part
Right.
is Green Acres, right? Let's see. You mentioned that you may be meeting with the committee, end of August. I'm not sorry, not the committee, the skate park design
That's correct.
concept, okay. And then when do you think, like, possibly another meeting, it would be presented at another council meeting?
No idea. Once I get the paperwork together, once we get the plan in place, we'll take it as it comes. I don't know when that meeting will be.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to get some advance notice just because I have a fluctuating work schedule, I want to make sure I'm there.
Well, if you look at the agenda that comes out, it was on there about the last meeting.
Okay,
So
yeah, I
that's what you
wasn't
have to do,
aware of
it's on the
that.
website.
I wasn't aware of that being on the agenda until the last minute. Let's see. And I think it's great that you're getting Bob's input on the design. I was just wondering about getting public input, the general public's input, maybe sending an email survey out to residents in
Now,
Belmar?
what we want to do is, you've been here at several meetings,
Mm-hmm.
okay? You're adversarial at best, you make this political. Hear me out. I'm going to work with, I'm working with Bob from the skate park.
Uh-huh.
This is a Belmar resident issue for the taxpayers.
Okay.
The funding is important,
Okay,
okay? So we're going to work through our professionals the right way
that's
to
great.
get the design, to get the concept, to get the bid specs out there, and we're going to work for the betterment of the
Excuse me,
skate
but where am
park.
I being adversarial? I was just making a suggestion of how you could get the public's input.
We
That's
get the
all.
public's
Well, the
input
first
by
thing
them
is,
coming to a meeting.
once we build the bed specs and they go out,
Okay,
then we'll see what these companies come back with as far as design. And then that's
Okay.
what we'll pick based on price and what we think their concept will be. That'll be in a public meeting, and we'll have a lot of public comment about it at those times. This concept plan that came before us is just to show us that it could be designed above ground. And
right,
so-
right. I understand, and, you know, not
So
everybody
now,
understands that. Yeah.
when the bids come back in, and we have a couple companies coming in before us with their proposals,
Okay.
that's when the public is gonna have a lot of input. And then that's when we'll decide on which one. And we'll-
When you have multiple designs, you're saying?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, because
All
right
I just
now-
wanted to make sure that, you know, the public was gonna have.
Right now, it's
have some say.
premature for anybody to speak on anything, because we're still trying to figure out what's best and how to build it, so.
I gotcha, okay. And just another suggestion, being that Anthony was here and, you know, he is blind, and, you know, maybe just as an idea, just a side note too, maybe make it ADA compliant, maybe make sure that there's.
It has to be.
Oh, it
signage.
has to be ADA
Has to
compliant, has to be. Any new structure has to be. So
Okay.
that
Alright.
is all part of the plan.
Because I do have some ideas regarding that. I mean, some other skate parks have incorporated a miniature version of skate park near the entrance so that skaters could actually feel like a miniaturized version and get a feel for the park. Because what Anthony has to do, he has to go around with his cane and feel out all the obstacles before he skates. This would be a nice way to feel it out without actually having to walk around with his cane first. He could be able to see, you
All
know,
right, well, that's something we'll be able to talk about with.
just
the-
an idea.
And that's how we deal with our professionals.
Yeah.
Yep,
So-
okay, well, I just wanted to put that little bug in everybody's ear about it, that's all. Again, I think that's it. All right, thank you very much.
Yes.
Ellen Zabian, 217 and 217 and a half on Avenue. So I had a couple of questions on, I wanted to add, is that my fault? Okay, sorry, I thought I lowered it. So when it's ADA compliant, so I work in a lot of sports, and ADA compliant is absolutely necessary. But what we have found out is in order to move the grant application up the ladder, if you add this miniature park, which all the kids do this mini skate thing, so it's an attraction. But if you make the signs braille and you bring in some other equity and diversity issues, your application will bump to the top, no doubt. If you add in environmental concerns like runoff, how the concrete deals with water, trees, that also bumps the spec up to the top. And I know this because I've done many specs and many grants. So I would suggest that you don't just you use the ADA compliant as a critical component and go a step further, because then Belmar can have the most welcoming skate park in the county, if not the state. And you just got an award for the beach being most friendly. So I compliment you on that, because my 92-year-old dad loves walking that little ramp. But if we could do it for the skate park, then that looks like, hey, Belmar's really doing something for the disability community. On the Green Acres components, I looked up the Green Acres property, and I believe that, and I'm not 100% sure, but the Belmar Marine Basin and the 3-acre park where the component of the basketball league is, and then the McClary Park, which I believe has a baseball league that rents it. And then there's 2 spots that say Belmar Beach, that's Green Acres, which I'm not sure where that is. I would like to learn. And then obviously the Dempsey Park and the parking lot. So the question is, all the funds that have been raised in the Marine Basin, and I know the mayor had said that the money that comes in for the basketball league is a wash because it covers the refs and that, but we spoke to the basketball people and they come in with their own refs. So I think he was maybe talking about a different basketball league maybe. So the question is, this money coming in to all these Green Acre spots, even the Marine Basin, which I'm assuming is parking, could be the rental of the grill. Where is that money and where is it gone? I'm sorry if I'm boring you.
You're not boring me.
Where is the money and where has it gone for the last 20 years?
Well, I don't understand what your question is.
So,
Green Acre
so
funding.
the Dempsey Park has been park mobile a few times. I have an email from the mayor that says for the
Park mobile for the Dempsey Park, the one time that we tried it, that went to recreation, that's
That-
recreation.
that went to recreation,
Right.
and how much was that?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Okay, and so I see here the seafood festival was touted as the parking area.
The what?
So today we went to the parking area, and the parking area is used by Bar A and the Shillelagh Club, the bars,
Which parking area?
near the skate park.
All right, we have a director from DEP. There were a problem in the past with people parking in there. Businesses were parking their trucks there.
Right, I saw that.
We cleared that all out. We've sent letters to all those people. They're not supposed to park there. The chief had another meeting to go to, but her patrols are on there constantly for quick parking overnight. I don't believe you can park there from 3 to 6.
That's right.
So we're trying to make sure that recreation area is only used for recreation areas, and that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah,
I've been
so
in touch-
I
It's
have-
difficult at
I'm
a
sorry.
council meeting when you ask us for a 20-year history. I mean, questions like this would be better posed ahead of time so we could be prepared.
No, I
to answer.
have a record request for that. So a
Okay.
public record request, but I like to be transparent. I don't like to just say, hey, I'm coming with this, and I appreciate that. The other question I had, Ed, was I emailed you in the first meeting, one of the meetings I came to, I'm sorry, I don't know your last name, but
Kenny.
Councilwoman Kenny said the Park and Rec does not include the skate park, and that was in the transcript. Then another meeting, it said that the Park and Rec is closed, and it doesn't include this, it does include the skate park, but we can't come. Then I emailed you and asked you very politely, not adversarially, when we could, where in the minutes did the Rec and Park group, I don't know what you call it, is it a commission?
Park
Is it a
commission,
group? Okay, commission, where was it created, what year, because I can't find that, and then in the bylaws, when do commissions get to be public, open to the public?
It's not open to the public, it's an advisory group, and if you look up.
Oh, wait, so is it a commission or advisory group, or it doesn't matter?
It's an advisory group. It's an advisory group.
So it's an advisory group, and it was established in,
You'd have to look at the ordinances for when it was initially adopted, as well as the bylaws. I don't know, I wasn't there.
I can tell you.
yeah, is there a way to access that
Look up
without
Parks and Commission, 15-2.
15? I read it in the, I was asking, where in the bylaws does it state that that advisory group is closed?
It's in the,
It's an
it's
advisory.
in Title 40.
Title 40?
Yep.
Okay, so when I asked you, Ed, for that, you just kept emailing me back, it's closed, it's closed.
Because respectfully, he's not an attorney. You should have been contacting me
So
for the
is
state
there
opinion.
any way that you could just like couch that less adversarially and say, can you contact the attorney and they will be able to help you, as opposed to ignore my email?
I told you that it's closed.
Yes, that's
You
all
can
you
go
said.
online and do all your
You
research.
didn't say any of that.
But-
You
but-
didn't say contact the attorney. I live in this town, we work together.
Right.
I'm not adversarial.
That's debatable, but go ahead. I've had several phone conversations with you. I've had conversations with you about the skate
I've
park.
actually-
I'm not here to argue with you. I can tell you that you can look it up.
I've
and
never
you can
met
find
you.
out. I'm sorry?
I think this is the first time I've actually know what you look like.
Right, because we've talked on the phone several times.
Not about the skate park, but.
We talked
okay.
about the skate park, when you told me you worked for the NFL, that you could raise a lot of money, and that was back in,
That was way.
way back, right?
Yeah,
Exactly
once.
right.
And respectfully, she also appeared at a couple council meetings as
Yes.
well, as long as online.
Yeah. So in
Matter
the
of fact,
future,
it's August
if
5th,
they,
2021 at 8:18 a.m., you talked to me about the skate park.
perfect. So in the future, if I ask you something and you have the ability to direct me to a better source, I would love if you could direct me to the better source as opposed to ignore. Okay? That would be appreciative. All right, well, I think I'm done. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Sharon Mahoney, 800 Main Street. I have a few items, just nothing crazy, but a couple questions. So the chief is gone, or is there anyone else from the police department here? No?
Chief is not.
No, she had another meeting.
Okay,
I apologize.
so, there is a discrepancy on speed limit signs on Main Street. Nobody else has noticed this, but it's really crazy. So if you're heading, and I challenge you to take the drive. So if you're heading from Avon, you come over the bridge, it says 25 miles an hour at Fifth Avenue. It changes to 30 at 8th Avenue, and that goes until 15th. Then it goes to 25 between 16th and 17th. Then there's another sign between 17th and 18th, another sign between 18th and 19th. If you're heading in the other direction, coming from Spring Lake, it says 25 miles an hour at North Boulevard at 19th, between 18th and Redmond, between Redmond and 17th, between 8th and 7th. There are no 30 mile an hour speed limit signs going the other way. So how is that policed? No, it's 30 miles an hour going towards
I
Spring
always
Lake.
thought, we'll have to check that, but
Yeah.
I always thought the part of 71 was 30 miles an hour, but coming over the bridge, it says
It
25?
says 25 right at Fifth Avenue, and then at 8th Avenue, it changes to 30. Up
Because
until,
30, I thought 30 was only supposed to be that section of 71, then where it goes on to 8th Avenue. I thought all our streets were 25, but we'll
Yeah,
check that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. 'cause
Or
I'm like, okay, it's
that-
I
only
actually,
going one
I
way.
actually did notice that because I have a low speed vehicle and I was like, am I not supposed to be on this road because you're only supposed to be at 25 miles an hour?
We'll
Yeah.
have the chief check into that.
Yeah, we'll check into that and look at what it's really supposed to be. Make
Okay,
sure it's straight out.
regarding the loading zones. So there's been a lot of double parking on Main Street for Beach House Brewery, for the Nourish by Nature, for Stay Gold, for the new restaurant that's above the Beach House Brewery, where the trucks are parking, double parking for half hour at a time, right? So they're clogging up traffic. Now, I noticed that Beach House Brewery has those, the delivery bays, but I know they're ramped, so you can't always just deliver, that's for whatever. But I don't know what's going on with the lane striping on 8th Avenue, but I think if you can create a loading zone on 8th Avenue, right there where that's where they can all park. I know that Stay Gold does have them sometimes park on 8th Avenue, going east, which is great, or even the other way. At least Main Street's just a cluster F, right? So, and then when they sit there for half hour, I get the exhaust fumes in my apartment, and it's not good, nature, not good. So if somebody can look into that and find out, there's only other thing I found in resolutions, in the code for towing for obstructing traffic is in the Marine Basin, which is probably the lowest area that you would need, towing over there because there's so much room over there. So that's why when I noticed the thing for the delivery time for 15 minutes for the fishing club, why is that not in place for Main Street anywhere? But it's just that our area right now is so congested that it's just creating a lot of problems. And plus, they're also walking right in the middle of the road. They're not even using the crosswalks.
We're still waiting for that DOT to work on that 8th Avenue intersection. They're telling us that it's close, but I've been in touch with Megan Frackler from the DOT to try to get that system in place with the pedestrian signs and everything like that. So that's a work in progress is what we're trying to get done.
Okay.
But we'll take a look at that.
Yep.
I noticed more and more trucks are parking there, so
Yeah.
we'll take a look at that.
Okay. Councilman Kinney, bike fix-it stations. Any progress on those?
Well, I talked to Business Administrator Christian Belmar about that, and that was something that we were gonna look into. I don't know if that was a funding thing or.
It's a funding thing, and then we have to look at locations where they're gonna be. We're so congested as we are right now that it's something that we're gonna have to take a hard look at. We've had several entrepreneurs want to come out with scooters and fixing stations, things of that nature. We have to be careful what we overload because we have no room in town. We have no room in the parking, summertime especially.
Fix-it stations are thin.
But it's still going to be a spot where people are going to take up. And quite frankly, we'll take a look at the feasibility study of how that will work in our congested area.
Okay. Bike showers on Main Street, what's happening there?
I'm sorry?
The bike showers on Main Street, what's
I'm
happening?
continuously talking to the county in regards to that and to the state, and they think it's a danger because of the congestion on Main Street, parking on both sides of the street with the traffic, that there's no room for a bike carrier.
It's not a bike lane.
Listen to me, it's not a bike lane, but it gives the impression that it is, which they think, the experts say, could cause more harm than good. So we want to keep everybody safe that it's not a bike lane, but somebody that's not educated enough would think it's a bike lane. And that's one of the issues.
Well, with other towns having it, not just in New Jersey, but, around the country.
I realize that, but our streets are so, we're talking with the experts, and our streets are so congested that it gives a false sense of security for bikers.
All right, Silver Lake. I'd asked this a while ago. There's a platform there, people feed the ducks, garbage all the time. There used to be a do not feed the wildlife sign, at least there's one on the other side of the lake, but there's not one there. Where's the place where people actually hang out?
Which part of the lake?
Where the platform is on Silver Lake?
It's on the 8th Ave side, kind of on like the western side.
There's a couple benches there.
Kids fish off of that platform.
Yeah, I know.
People drop food there. Plus, there are no garbage cans there or recycling cans. The sign that there's a life buoy, there's no life buoy. That buoy's been gone forever. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done to improve that park. Along with that, the sign at 5th and North Lake that's been missing since last year, when is that going back up to say state of the right? It got knocked down during a storm.
Which sign?
So if you're coming up 5th Avenue from the ocean and then you take a left of North Lake, there should be that sign in the middle of the road that says state of the right. That got knocked down a while ago. It's still missing.
Meaning around the circle, state of the
Mr.
right?
Russell?
No, before that. Right when you turn left onto North Lake.
Is it right next, on the island you're talking about?
Yes.
Big
That-
trees?
That island, it's on, no, it's actually North Lake and Fifth Avenue.
I know, yeah.
Is it a metal sign in the ground, or is it one of those flop signs that go on the road?
No, it's metal. It was installed and somehow it got knocked down during a storm or an accident and it's never been replaced.
We'll look into it.
Yeah, okay.
Apologize.
And discussion about the stop sign at Fifth Avenue East and East Street. Any more discussion on that? Where I said people fly down that road? The Fifth Avenue East, so you're coming from Main Street on Fifth Avenue. And I asked if we could get a stop sign there because people just fly through that intersection.
The chief of police has done a study there and does not recommend a stop sign there.
Okay. 10th Avenue, the clock. The flowers that used to be there were really obstructive to see across that intersection. So if you're coming up 10th Avenue, you couldn't see what was coming down 10th Avenue towards you. Are you putting anything else in there when you're done with that construction? Because it's nice, you can actually see the cars coming down 10th Avenue now.
It's gonna be low. It's not-
Okay.
Nothing's growing high on there.
Yeah, it was, you couldn't see somebody until they were flying right in your face, so.
It'll be low bushes.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank
Nothing
you.
painful.
Yes, Kyle?
Kyle Rizzatello, 14th Avenue, Belmar. The end of June, I had a plumbing problem issue at the house. And I called the plumber. The plumber also suggested that I call the DPW. I contacted DPW. They came over and they checked the street. The street was clear. It was an internal problem. That was taken care of. But if I didn't call the borough, I would have never known that the cover at the street where the drain goes out was broken, and it was the original one from when the house was built. So the fellow from the DPW had removed it, told me what to get. We went to Taylor's Hardware, we got that. So the house was taken care of. DPW, thank you for showing up immediately. There was no delay in them showing up.
We have an excellent word, Barbara. We have an excellent word.
No
Barbara.
problem. It was great because we got the new one, and now it's screwed on and it's on there and it's on tight. I still have the old one, so it's probably an historical piece about now. Eddie and Mark, I just want to tell you thank you for assisting and helping out with the Belmar Cares when we were selling our snacks for the first and second Thursday up at the beachfront for the movies, and for making arrangements for us, in reference to parking. We did well. Also, the glow sticks were a big hit, especially for the parents and the kids. So that was a plus. So thank you for helping us out with that. And that was for a good cause. It's for the Belmar Cares Breast Cancer
We
Group.
appreciate all you do. It's a great organization.
I'm sorry?
We appreciate all you do for that organization.
Yeah, we've been helping a lot of local people going through breast cancer. Reference the clock on 10th and Main. Isn't it true that all the funds to purchase the clock and install the clock are 100% of those monies came 100% from donations and proceeds from the mayor's ball, and not one dime is coming from the taxpayers? Am I correct on this?
Yes, very correct. Yeah, not one dime.
Not one dime is coming out of taxpayers' money. Okay, in reference to the building on 12th Avenue and Main Street, it was purchased for approximately 1.2 million.
Yes.
Am I close?
Yes. We're close.
Okay. It's going to be used it's going to be new, we're going to refurbish it, and it's going to be used as a new firehouse and first aid squad building, correct?
It has some water safety.
And water safety, okay. Myself, as a volunteer in a fire company for over 40 years, I know that these vehicles are costly. We can't continue to leave first aid rigs outside during the winter. A first aid rig, a sample model, or one built to design or specs, with special items can cost from $175,000 to $225,000. These vehicles and rigs are used 24/7. So imagine replacing them every 2 to 3 years because they're left outside and they're damaged from the weather. That's that is first aid, and that's just the first aid rig. That doesn't include all the medical supplies that are needed in that rig and everything that needs to be stocked. So my opinion is we got to get those first aid rigs indoors. Now, when it comes to a new fire truck, I previously just was at our fire company meeting last week. As we call them, a new engine. These days, it can cost up to $600,000 and up without hoses, ladders, Scott packs, and all the necessary equipment that we need to fight fires on a fire truck. And a ladder truck, as known as an aerial, starts at $750,000 with nothing stocked on that. So we did receive a new fire truck. Now we have to stock it, am I correct?
No, it's all squared away. There's just a couple of things that they have to do, like lettering. But this is the second truck that, since January 2019.
So my point is of keeping these vehicles out of the weather and indoors.
Correct.
So, having a firehouse, so the firehouse on 11th Avenue, that is, once we refurbish the one on 12th Avenue, get that up and running, get everything in there, correct me if I'm wrong, then the 11th Avenue firehouse is going to be sold, and those proceeds are going to be going towards the money that was used and needed for that 12th Avenue building.
That's correct.
Okay. Having a fire department and a first aid building across the street from a school is a great advantage, especially if there's an incident at the school. And that would also benefit two towns, Belmar and, as I call it, South Belmar. Now it's Lake Como. It's right in the middle of both towns. So their arrival time for fire and first aid is going to be even, whether they're going north or whether they're going south or whether they're going east or west. It's right in the middle of town. And I think that's one of the better, as a fire person in a fire company, I think that's a great location because it's right there in town. And I wouldn't mind having a firehouse next to my house, that's for sure. So South Belmar, all right, so everything is going to, both towns are going to be, and both towns will be covered by the same equipment.
That's correct.
It takes a lot of time. I've been in this town for over 65 years. It takes a lot of time, intelligence, patience to run a town successfully. You've gotten in town grants, monies that we never applied for in the past, from the past administration. You pulled the town back up out of the hole, as I call it was in. And as I see it, this town was falling apart, especially financially. You're working on improvements and making things better where things are needed. Some people just don't like change. However, there comes a time when it's necessary, and that's now. It's still a family town. Look at all the families that come here on vacation seasonally, and the people that are here year-round. Changes need to be made. You can't keep an old building because it was here for years and it looks nice, especially if it's a hazard and falling down. Times are changing and things need updates. When it comes to parking in Belmar, like I said, I lived here over 65 years. There's always been a parking problem in Belmar. Today's days, there are like 3-4 times as many young drivers. So now we have more vehicles on the road. And in this area, especially in the summer, people complain about the crowd, how crowded Belmar is in the summer. It's a wonderful resort town. Lots to do in the summer. The people bring money into the town and spend it in our town to keep the businesses going. There are townhouses that are built right in my neighborhood. About, I'm going to say 10 years ago. That alone brought the value of the properties in the area up. It cleaned up the area, and they're year-round residents, not seasonal renters. Sure, we made adjustments because that area was built, and the town and the street now is a one-way, which is a safety feature, and it's closed off so that the townhouse people park in their development, not in our residential area. It was built for the better. It was a change. Maybe we weren't crazy about it in the beginning, but once we looked at how the plans and realized what the outcome was going to be, it was good. Things change, times change, improvements are needed. However, things won't and can't change overnight. People need to be patient. It takes time, patience, persistence, along with knowledge of laws, rules, codes, and approvals. It's not, like I said, it's not it's not easy running a town. And you can't make good decisions when you're angry. So staying calm and thinking things out, knowing your finances, organizational skills is what will work and is a benefit to our town. And thank you all for doing the things that I mentioned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle.
Anyone else? Yes, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I know Bruce Blatt, 407 9th Avenue, Belmar. Question on the infrastructure, and this may be stupid, but, well, thanks, Marshall. You're a little taller than I am. I just had a water line in my home changed from the curb to my home. And I know that was the old thing, so mine is brand new now. But the borough is not responsible for that, am I correct, from the curb to my home?
That's correct.
That's correct, okay. Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, April, seeing none? No. Yes.
Hello. Jesse Malechnik, 1202 D Street. I want to talk about the park just for a minute. I want to put myself forward as the poster man for middle-aged skaters, because a lot of people have this preconception that everybody who skates is 13 years old. You know, that's not really the case. So I wanted to let everybody know that's, I've been skating since 1985. I still do. Most guys my age play golf instead. I roll around. That's what I like to do. And it's really exciting that parks come to town. A lot of people are really happy about that. It's been a long time coming. The park has been closed for a while. A lot of people have been griping about that. And I realize that it is a slow process, and to get things going to where they need to be, there's a lot of red tape and hoops to jump through. So everybody appreciates that. I just wanted to ask, or say rather, that as Mr. Mayor, you said, it's really important to get some community input on the park from a core group of people who are out there and I've been to parks all over the country, coast to coast. Some are phenomenal, some are terrible, most are somewhere in between. I've seen parks spend a pile of money and end up with permanent concrete nothing that nobody goes to. So it's just important to get some skaters involved and hear what they have to say and kind of build from there. The tendency with especially a small park tends to be jam as much into it as possible as the budget will allow, and that's not always the best answer. Less is typically more, and you'll find that a skate park is not just it's not just localism. It's a microcosm of the larger community. So you'll get a kid from Long Branch and a kid from Barnegat will come to Belmar, and they may have never met before, but now they may have a lifelong friendship that develops just because of this park. This has happened to me through experience. So I think just putting as much effort into the design and getting the community input is really important. That's all I wanted to say. So as it moves forward, it'd be great if there was, even if it was separate from the standard town meetings, if there was any kind of small group that could come together and pitch ideas back and forth, rather than just going with a company that says, we know what we're doing here, we're just going to give you this.
Yeah, we don't plan on just going with a company.
Okay.
We're going with a lot of input from a lot of skaters. That's why we've actually expanded the footprint to make it even safer. So the better skater and the newer skater can cohabitate on that skate park. So
Sure.
You're a Belmar resident?
Yes, I am.
You can reach out to me and I'll get your name and information.
Great,
And
thank
if
you.
you want to wait till the end of the meeting, I'll get on.
Okay,
All right?
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, I'm John Newberry. I'm from Wall, 1616 Holly Boulevard. Just like I took my kids to Pennsylvania to teach them how to snowboard, I've taken them here to Belmar to teach them how to drop into a half pipe. So I just wanted to say thank you for keeping the whole thing alive.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Hey, my name is Kyle Jones. I live on 412 Lone Ave. And, well, I've been skateboarding since I was 8 years old. I've been going to skate parks since, I don't know, they opened. I know it was the day Michael Jackson died. They opened the skate park, I think it was like 2009 or something. But that's the first time I ever really got to go to the skate park. And it was in my own town, which I thought was really cool. So I'm really thankful that you guys are looking into like expanding the skate park and making it better. So it's really cool. I'm really thankful for that. And I just want to say thank you. Yeah, I think they covered a lot of the questions.
And Kyle, if you remember back in 2019, you're going to be one of those guys that are going to go down to the skate park, make sure everybody follows safety rules. You're still into that, right?
Yeah, I'm still with that. Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
Because we talked a lot in 2019 about that, and of course.
Yeah, I remember when I did the petition thing and everything. Yeah.
So you're going to be one of the people involved.
Okay. Cool.
Right?
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Kelly Ferraro. I was wondering if we raised...
Can we just have your address, please?
Yeah, sure. I live in Spring Lake, 1212 3rd Avenue. It's close enough to walk over, skate. I skate myself, so I represent female skateboarders. More just asking, there's lots of people that have skated and that we've lost over the years in the community. If we were to put up a certain amount of funds, you don't have to give a number or anything, would it be possible to put little plaques on some of the features in the park so get more incentive for people to donate to this project in the community that have lost members or their families and things like that that also shared that part back in the day? Would that be an option?
Well, that's one way to raise money, yeah.
I mean,
anything we could do to raise money and just look at it.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure before I go down the path that it was even an
Contact our
option.
business administrator with your ideas, at the meeting sometime.
Yeah, and I understand it's a town issue, but just want to help put that towards anything.
Any funding that we can get.
Yeah.
This skate park originally was all volunteer funding. I forget what year it was built, but the town gave property for the skate park and it was all funded privately. Listen, any funding we can get, that's a big interest to Homer grants.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Can I have a motion to close the public session and adjourn the meeting?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out today.